Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I know I'm late this month, but we are talking about April favorites. So if you're interested in hearing about some makeup I've been loving and also some jewelry, then just keep on watching. Many of you have been asking me about some of the jewelry that I wear, especially the rings that I wear, and a lot of those are unique or custom made, so I don't really mention them too often because you guys can't get them. But I just recently purchased some earrings, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of backstory on these earrings and the other pair that I purchased, which I'll show you in a second. But I have some very, very good friends in New York, and this video, they don't know that I'm talking about this. Not even sure if they know that I order these because I just ordered them online and they were delivered, and I don't know. So anyway, this is not sponsored. They don't know that I'm talking about this. And anyway, they're good friends of mine in New York, and they started this jewelry business. I know them because I'm a hand knitwear designer, and if you work in the handy arts, you meet a lot of other craftsmen. So my friend and her mother, I'm friends with both of them, they are this like dynamic duo, and they do a lot of bead crocheting, and they create a lot of really, really beautiful, beautiful hand beaded, hand crocheted jewelry. And it was sold at the Museum of Art and Design in New York. They're very, very popular. They teach classes all over the world. They've been taken to Japan to teach classes. So when it comes to bead crochet, they are the ladies, and they've developed this like beautiful kind of like spiral tunneling technique. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So they decided to create a jewelry line. It was a long time in the making, and since I'm friends with them, I've been able to, I don't know, kind of have an insider peek into every single step that has gone into this line. It's absolutely incredible. The hurdles they had to overcome, the timing of things, I mean just everything, the website, photography, I mean down to everything. They created the company called Park and Lex, and they hand make every single piece. So I have been there when they are sitting at their dining room table with all of these jewelry pieces. I don't even know what the correct term is called. Like the hook and these gold pieces and then these stones. So again, everything is hand assembled, hand created, hand designed. You know, they actually had to go and like draw out what they wanted, and they got them cast. So everything was just really, really homegrown. And if you take a look at their site, which of course I'll link down below, you'll see some of their like beaded creations, which can be worn all these different ways. I mean, they're just absolutely beautiful, and I've purchased several pieces from them for my mother because she really likes it. My mother crochets. So anyway, I just wanted to give them a shout out because I have been wearing these earrings like non-stop all month ever since I got them. And I purchased these, and I also purchased these because I thought these were so great for summertime. So they have like a nautical feel to them, which my good friend is actually obsessed with. She loves like nautical things. And this is a pink moonstone. And if you guys don't know, this ring of mine is a moonstone. So I really like moonstones. And these are, I believe, white quartzite, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then all of the gold that you see is solid 10 karat gold. So I like that because the finish of 10 karat gold is not quite as bright yellow, let's say as 24 karat gold or 22 karat gold. So it almost looks like it's brass. It's like a cooler, cool toned gold, which I really appreciate. It's a little bit more subdued. So yeah, so I just love them. I don't wear earrings on my channel very often because when I do makeup, I take my earrings off because I usually kind of bring the foundation very, very close to my ears, if not onto my ears. And then I just start filming. So anyway, I think I've worn these maybe once or twice in a previous video, but I have been wearing these sort of nonstop. They're also like the perfect weight. I feel like earrings that are too light, they come out easily. Like they get pushed out really, really easily if they're too light, and then if they're too heavy, they're too heavy. Your ears drag, it's very uncomfortable. These have like a very, very nice weight to them. You can see they're not dragging my earlobe or anything, but they're definitely weightier than a lot of earrings that I've come across. So I really like that, and I really love the style of like drop earrings. I just think they're really, really easy to wear. I think that they can be casual, and then it depends on like whatever I'm wearing. I think you can kind of dress these up really easily. So I'm just a big, big fan of these. So I have made this favorites list, and I've actually filmed this video a couple of times, but whatever. I I made this list a few times and I always ended up with like 20, 25 things, and I was like, no way. First of all, that's too much for you guys to ingest. It's too much for me to talk about. I feel like I really needed to kind of really whittle down, like, what was I loving this past month? So I was able to whittle it down, and I pretty much applied it all to my face. So these are my like ultimate favorites from this past month. I'm going to start with the foundation. This is the Clé de Peau The Foundation. I just posted a review on this. This was the last foundation I reviewed during my foundation week. I absolutely love it. It is great for dry skin. If you have oily skin, I would not recommend it. I was not sure when I recorded that video whether or not it would be good for oily skin, and I asked you guys to comment down below if you did have oily skin, if you've tried this, if it's worked for you. And I heard from at least 2 people that they said that they had oily skin and this did not work for them. So if you have oily skin, I definitely would not go for this. It is incredibly emollient. This is the only foundation I feel like I have to set down. If I don't set down, my entire face looks really, really greasy, which has never ever been the case with any other kind of foundation. With any other foundations, at most, I have to set down this like my nose area, which gets the oiliest, but that's it. With this, it was my entire face. So I love this foundation, but only good for dry skin. Oh, I have it in the shade 020 if you need reference. Next, I've been loving the Clé de Peau concealer. Now, I have an earlier version of this concealer, but they updated the formula to include an SPF 25. So I was super excited about that, and I decided to get a different shade too. So I got a shade lighter. I previously had Almond, which I think is good for like blemish cover up, like on my face. But for under eye, I really like something that's a little bit more brightening, and the Ivory, I believe, is the lightest shade. So it is very, very light, and I don't know if you can see, but it does brighten up my under eyes nicely. So I just use this around my eyes. I swipe it directly under my eyes and on my eyelids, and then I will use either my finger or a brush like my Zoeva Face Shape 110, and I'll just kind of go in and work it in. And for a concealer that's kind of like thick, it blends out so easily, and then it doesn't move all day. Like, it doesn't budge, it doesn't crease, it doesn't fade, like absolutely nothing. It does a great job covering up. This probably has the most coverage of any of the concealers I've been using, like my Chanel Longwear concealer. That one has pretty decent coverage, but not as much as this. And then my By Terry Denseless concealer has the lightest coverage of them all. This one has a lot of coverage, and I feel like it really makes my under eye area look very, very flawless. And I have dry skin, and it works well for me. So I've been loving this, and I love that it has SPF 25. I think that's a great addition to under eye concealer. I feel like all concealers should have an SPF, because you're most likely going to be putting it under your under eyes, and that is the most delicate skin that we have on our face. So that makes the most sense to me. So anyway, I'm glad that they added the SPF to their formula. And then here's another product I've been kind of discussing or talking about nonstop all month, but this is the Clé de Peau Loose Powder, the translucent loose powder. Yes, translucent loose powder. It comes in this obnoxiously large tub, but the powder is absolutely amazing. It comes with this generous puff. I've never actually had a puff quite as puffy as this one. And here is the powder. It is so fine, it is so light. Definitely sets down your foundation with a little bit of a matte finish. There's no sparkle, no nothing in this powder. And on my skin tone, it definitely is translucent, but someone has commented because it has kind of a slightly pink tint that it comes off ashy on their skin tone. So I would be aware of that. Maybe this is something you could try and store and give a whirl, because I think it looks great. For me, it's very, very invisible, very translucent on my skin, but I have heard that it gives an ashy kind of chalky cast to some others. So I just wanted you guys to be aware, but I have been loving it. And then the bronzer that I have on, that I have been wearing pretty much all month, is the Bobbi Brown Stone Street bronzer. This is something that I picked up at Nordstrom, just sort of on a whim. The makeup artist there put it on me, and I was like, wow. Generally, I don't like matte bronzers, and he put it on and I was like, that's kind of perfect. So this is what Stone Street looks like. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Here it is swatched. It's just the perfect mid-tone bronzer. It's great for anyone with my skin tone. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. The matte formula doesn't look too dry. It's very soft. If you've ever used any Bobbi Brown bronzers or blushes, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a really lovely powder. Blends beautifully, doesn't go on too heavy, but you don't have to work it up too much. It's just a really great kind of like everyday product. So the Bobbi Brown Stone Street Bronzer. And then I've been loving this Mer Bronzing Powder. Now I did a whole video on this as well, and I don't think it works as a bronzer for me. It's a little bit too light, but what I will do is I'll put the Stone Street bronzer on, and then I'll just dip my brush into this pan all over, and I will brush it kind of over where I've bronzed, and then up where I would blush, and then further up where I would highlight, and it just kind of creates this beautiful like flush to that area with a little bit of a highlight. So it's just one of those really beautiful, it's almost like a face palette in one. Like you can just use it in this area and it just sort of lightens and brightens everything. And that's what I have right over here. I also have another highlight, which I'll mention in just a second, and that you'll see a little bit further down. But all of this area here is like the Mer, the bronzing powder. And it's also been a time saver because when I use this, it can kind of be like blush and highlight all in one, and then kind of like just buff out my bronzer. It's just great. It's just been like a really, really awesome like all-purpose powder. So this combo has been really, really amazing. And then speaking of this highlight, so this is what I have on my cheeks. Why can't I open this? Oh, this is the NARS highlighting powder. This is relatively new. I don't know if you guys can see, but I have like huge chunks missing in this pan already. But this is the Fort de France, and I did a whole video on this as well. And I got Fort de France, Capri, and Albatross. Albatross is beautiful, but it's really, really light and blingy. It's very gold and like icy looking. So that's not an everyday highlight for me. And then the Capri is a little bit pinker. So if you have like a cooler skin tone, I think that's great for an everyday. I tend to have a little bit of like a warmer cheek here. So the Fort de France has been great for me. This is a really nice kind of like a champagne-y peachy color. And so that's what you see right here, is that highlight. And this powder formula is beautiful. It goes on really sheer, but then it's totally buildable. So this is probably 2 layers. So you can do something a little bit more subtle if you want, and you can definitely build it up if you want something even more blingy. So I've been loving this. And then another NARS product I've been loving is the NARS and Erdem collaboration. This is the Fleur Fatale eyeshadow palette, and I'm just loving this mood. I'm loving this color scheme. I'm loving how it's like neutral, but you have like a little bit of color here, and I just love it. It's like a little bit dramatic, a little bit moody, and I have this shade, which is the only matte shade in this palette. The rest are shimmers. But this matte shade I basically have on the outer corners and a little bit into my like socket area here. I also smudged it along my lower lash line. And then I have this color here on my inner corners. It's very subtle. I absolutely love it. It's just been like a really perfect little palette, and love the packaging. That never hurts. And it has that soft touch NARS packaging that we love, but the Erdem, beautiful print. I also have an entire video on this, but let me go ahead and swatch all of these colors for you. They're beautifully pigmented. They blend out beautifully. So that's the Fleur Fatale. And then I didn't swatch the Fort de France NARS highlighter. Let me do that now. That's it down here. Hopefully you can see that. And I also didn't swatch the Mer bronzing powder, so I'm just going to run my finger over the whole pan. So here's the Mer, here is the NARS Fort de France, here's the NARS eyeshadow palette, and then that's the Bobbi Brown bronzer. And then the other product I have on my eye, which I have been loving, and I don't know why it took me so long to get, but this is the Chanel Illusion d'Ombre eyeshadow in New Moon. And this is one that my friend recommended to me. She was like shocked that I didn't have it. But it is very, very glittery. You can probably see that on my eyes. Hopefully you can see that on my eyes. But it's just gorgeous because I don't normally go for glitters. But this one is really irresistible. Let's watch that up here. I think it's because the glitters look a little bit wet. And I love a wet look. So Very, very drawn to this, and I love pairing it up with like a matte shadow. It just has this nice like juxtaposition between like the wet kind of glitter and the matte darkness. I just think it looks really cool. So that is the Chanel New Mood, and if you've ever used their Illusion d'Ombre, these are a little bit softer than their Ombre Premier shadows, which are a little bit newer. Those are a little bit more like putty feeling, and these are a little bit spongier, softer feeling. So I've just been loving it, and it's so easy to apply. My Sicily eyebrow pencil, I'm not even going to talk about this. I think I've talked about this maybe last month and the month before, but this is the one that I've been using. I love the color because it's a very, very dark brown. It's pretty much like black. So I just love it. The pencil is very soft, so you have to be careful, but if you use a really light hand, I think it just gives a really nice shaded look to your brow, and it has one of those teardrop shaped tips, and then it has the spoolie on one side, and then the product I never use but I should, I always forget, is that there's actually a highlighter in the middle, so you can use it to like highlight your brow bone area here, which I'll do right now. Oh, and the eyeliner I've been using, so you guys know I love the Tom Ford Eye Kohl Intense in Metallic Mink. That's the brown one that has kind of like a metallic sheen to it. That's sort of my staple. I use that all the time. I've mentioned that before. But the one that I've been using more and more, and I have it on today, is the Midnight color. So it's basically, it's like the Metallic Mink, but the blue version. So that is what it looks like. And I just think it's so cool because the metallic parts of it are like a brighter blue, but it seems to sit in like a smokier blue crayon. It's just really, really pretty. And I just like these colors because it gives something to your eyes, like a little bit of color without being like too in your face like color, and I like that. It's just a little bit more subtle. So Eye Kohl Intense by Tom Ford in the color Midnight. Okay, last two products are lip products. I have this one on my lips. You guys can probably guess what it is. It's the Tom Ford Lip Lacquer in Copper Chic. I just love this. I just absolutely love this color. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's neutral, but it's not boring. And I happen to love a metallic lip. And these lip lacquers are such an interesting formula because it's definitely like a very, very thick, opaque lip gloss. It is almost like a liquid lipstick, but it just doesn't have that drying feeling. But they're kind of long lasting. Like they really sit on your lips. I've eaten probably one good meal through wearing a lip lacquer, and it definitely fades, but it's not like it goes away. So it's definitely somewhere between a lip gloss and a liquid lipstick. It's somewhere in between, and it's just really, really beautiful. So I've been loving this, wearing this an awful lot. And the other lip product I've been loving is this one from Corte. I did a whole video on my Corte haul, and this one is a real standout. This is like their shiny lipsticks, and I have it in the shade SP050. And this is the one that's basically like just totally nondescript, but it gives your lips just a little something if you don't feel like putting on anything on your lips, like maybe you just did the powder mascara thing. This just gives your lips like an oomph, like a little bit more than a lip balm. It feels like a lip balm, by the way. So it's a great substitute for lip balm, and it's also wonderful to kind of just throw into your bag. It's very moisturizing, but there's like a little bit of sheen, a tiny, tiny bit of sparkle in there. It just gives your lips like this really healthy appearance. So I love it. I've been using this kind of nonstop. And it's great also if you want to layer it over another lipstick. It'll give that lipstick a little bit of that sparkly sheen to it. So I've been loving this. And that's it. And there were plenty of other things that I was loving this month, but I had to cut it off. These were the ones that kind of just rose to the top. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you've been enjoying this past month down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.